pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tracy, you want to do the roll call, please?
Louis Vistano,
Here?
David Lemoy,
Here.
Donna Lucia, Jeffrey Coslin,
Here.
Edward Fonseca.
Here.
Okay, approval of minutes. Someone like to make a motion to approve last month's minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Something's beeping.
Is that
over
somebody's
there.
microwave?
Is it, like, maybe like, you know, when like the,
That might be a little battery.
yeah, that's what I mean, like something like that, there might be specific.
Printer maybe?
Sounds like it's coming from.
We're outside.
Something like that.
Check the file.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you should be able to do that.
he's got it.
Continue, it's okay.
I don't know if it's bother you guys, but that's what it sounds like, you're when you lose
Right.
power, it sounds like one of those.
I'm sure this room isn't bugged.
It might be, but we're fine.
No, it's here. It's in here.
It's in here, but it sounds like,
Sounds like that.
That's what I thought it was.
Oh, maybe it's the
copier printer.
I don't know.
Out of paper or?
Oh, there's a
What's
box
out there?
right under there.
It's definitely that.
Oh, it's the
The UPS
It's
power
that?
supply, probably. Yeah, it's up right.
It's usually comes from one of those, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I know in my office, my gun goes off.
Can you reach that file? Please, right there? That's it.
There you go.
Perfect.
Let's hope that's it.
So you don't need to print it.
That was crystal when it's glued.
I was getting a little nervous.
All right, let's skip over executive session for the moment. Let's go to board council report, please.
I believe everything is either on the agenda or in the executive session agenda, so I don't really
Nothing
have
to-
anything additional.
Okay. Payment of bills. First bill is from Olin and Penza, file MBF 7372, in the amount of $1,350. And I did, where's my add-on?
We can do that next week. I can give it to Tracy
Think-
on next month's agenda.
Yeah, I just had got it, so
Okay.
I just told her there was no way I could get it.
All right,
1350. So the month of May.
That's the month of
May.
May, huh?
Yep.
There's something to add there.
Yeah, well, you were here, were you here last? Yeah, remember we short paid by $1,000?
$1,000.
Well, she calculated what it
Oh,
was, and
right.
we still owe a little bit more of that, so that would have been the add-on.
Yep.
But since we don't have that now, we'll
They
ignore it
have
for the
it on
moment.
now?
Yeah, we can just put it on next
Are you
month.
sure?
Yeah, it's not a problem. Because you'll have the June bills or the July bill for the
Yeah.
June work, and it can
Right.
just go with that.
With that,
All right, so I'll put this on
Yeah, for next month.
August.
And then Lou, if
Okay.
you wanted to, you have that, so if you want to send it or do whatever. we can do.
okay, I can do that.
Perfect.
All right, well, anyways, I've listed the Olin and Penza bill, if someone wants to make a motion to pay that bill.
I make a motion that we pay.
We have a second.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Ayes have it. That carries. Okay, bill number 2, Nyhart. It is for actuarial and administration services for May 2016 in the amount of $1,250. Make a motion to accept and pay that bill.
That motion?
Well, I'm not making one, I'm asking for a motion.
Make a motion to pay.
I second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries. The last bill, Open Gov bill, which was from March 25th, 2016 to March 24th, 2017, in the amount of $2,000. I know that we're still figuring out if we're going to be using Open Gov, but it's my recommendation to the board that we at least pay $500 of this. I mean, because whether we choose to use this service or not, we did sign the contract, and that was from March, it's now July. I mean, I think we should at least give them something while we decide what we're doing. But that's my
Have we
thoughts.
taken a look at that contract as far as if we, how long we're into it for and when we can cancel it? Because I mean, we talked about it. Like, we're not gonna be using OpenGov with what we have.
I have not looked at the
You haven't
contract.
looked at it?
No, I have not been asked to look at that contract, but I believe that Tracy pulled it and possibly
I
emailed
couldn't
it?
find- I couldn't
Oh, that was
find
the one
it.
you couldn't find.
Mike never sent it to us. Remember, I emailed you, and then you said you looked in the folder, and you couldn't find it either. We would need to actually get a copy of it.
So that was what had happened after the last meeting, was the question of if we wanted to have Tracy try and contact OpenGov and have them email me or if you wanted me to look for it, which I'm certainly happy to do, but no one wanted me to do that.
I mean, I don't know about putting $500 ahead of knowing what we're actually gonna owe if we were to cancel it right now.
Yeah, we're only 3 months into it, 4 months into it, aren't we? I mean, this invoice period ended on 3/24, so.
Do you want me to try to contact them? Do you-
Yeah, we're 3 months into
I
it.
can
Yeah,
ask
we're 3
John
months into
Semino
it.
for a contact and see if we canceled
that's
it, what we
500, so.
would owe and how much we would have to pay to date.
Well, I have contact if that's what we want to do. I mean, I have, somebody just sent me an email about it.
Yeah, oh, wait a minute, this guy's been sending me an email about the payment.
Right.
But I don't know if he deals with the contracts, but I could ask him.
But he at least could give us,
If
point us
you
in the right
want,
direction.
try.
So he emailed us, but he didn't give us a price.
No, we have the price. The price is 2,000. He just asked, he goes,
Right.
well, what's going on? I know you guys have put
Because
this,
we have not
tabled
paid
it for a
it.
while.
But because we haven't seen the contract yet, I suggest that we table this. Don't give him anything.
That's up to,
Yeah, I agree.
You
I
guys.
think we should
I agree.
see what is owed up to date, and once we figure out what that is, pay it and then cancel it. I don't see any need for it any further. I mean, are they pressing that we give them something? Is that why you're suggesting?
he
500?
was pressing, saying that, if you guys want to remain in good graces, basically. And again, I don't know if we're not using this. I mean, we still have to have somebody review this to see if we should be using this. It may actually be a decent service.
Yeah, but here it is in July, we still don't know anything about it. So it's March, April, May, June, that's like 3 months,
Right.
4 months later.
But that's our fault,
And we
in
already
my
paid the
opinion.
first year, last year.
Correct.
You guys already had paid the
Right, we
first
paid
year,
it the first year, and I didn't see any use out of it.
$2,000? And you don't know.
$2,000
how to use it?
a year.
Right.
We're not using it yet.
We haven't posted anything for this either then.
No, we have not.
What is OpenGov? I know you were.
I have no clue
OpenGov
about it.
is so that the public can go online and look at the agendas and the, I'm not sure how it works with the pension board. I know OpenGov.
I don't think it has to do
It
with
has
the
to-
agenda.
Oh, for the-
The
It has
Secretary
more-
of State is the
Yeah.
agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry,
OpenGov is
again.
more financial.
You get to see the breakdown
If
of
we
where
was
the
go-
money's going.
We were piggybacked off, I thought, finance, we went upstairs.
No, that's what I mean.
And remember, like,
It's
you
not.
guys
It's-
really weren't
how-
on it.
As a board, you can't.
We could access
We-
it, I just don't have a need for it. And we were talking
But
about
I
how
don't have access to
Rockland,
it.
Rockland can show us our cash flows anyway, so there really isn't a need to have it broken down as in-depth as
I don't
OpenGov
think
is.
so.
But who would be accessing it?
Anybody
Public.
could access it.
It would be the public accessing it.
So why pay this until you?
No, we could access it. I'm just saying, no one from the previous board, no one was ever taught, we don't know how to use it, but we know it's there to use.
Right.
That's basically what it boils down to.
So you're into the second year of a 2-year contract, it's $4,000, not 2,000. It's 2,000 per year?
It's 2,000 per
I
year.
think it's 3.
No, it's 2.
No, you're paying that whole
No,
year.
you still got the
You're paying
contract.
one more year. For some reason, I think it was 3.
That's right.
Oh, 3-year contract?
Yeah, see, you're just paying the second year.
Yeah, we have to get a copy of the contract.
2018 to go.
We have to get a copy of
I'm
this.
almost positive you guys voted on 3. Remember, I looked up the minutes, I can't remember, I had it on that last agenda, I can't remember, I thought it said 3.
It's either 2 or 3.
I found the emails going back and forth, I just don't have a contract.
How about if you just email this guy and tell him to send a copy of the contract to you, and you can see what you're into it for.
Right.
Yes.
Whether it's 1, 2, or 3 years.
I'll do that tomorrow.
I know there was a training session when the contract was initially signed, and I know finance was a part of that. And I know that there was at least a member of the prior board that was a part of that. I was not. So I can't tell you, but I do know there was a training session that took place. And I don't know the extent that finance is currently using it to put information out there. That's what I just
Well,
don't
there
know.
was a motion last month to table it by Mr. Lemoyne, and also I second it, and we were all in favor, so I suggest we do the same thing.
Do you know if the
Okay.
town itself, outside the pension board,
As using it?
is using it?
They are,
That's pretty much how we got involved. They were
So
saying, they were.
have a separate contract of,
correct.
It's separate.
They do have,
Yeah, it's-
yeah, it is a separate contract, because,
Yeah.
And it's almost like I think you guys piggyback.
We piggybacked
off of
on, they
that.
thought it would be good for everybody to be able to see where the finance, and it did sound good, but I just don't see anyone using it. I'm not even using it myself. It's just,
They're
for what it
paying
costs.
And you're being billed. They're paying,
They're
correct,
paying
it's true,
their-
for their service
pension committee has been paid,
Paying for our
a lot of money for.
portion.
portion of it, yeah. It's a lot of money for something that I don't see a need for personally. Maybe people do. I haven't heard anybody that comes to these meetings say, I looked at OpenGov and saw, it's just not,
I tried
in practice, it's
to
not
look
really
for it,
working.
I can't find it.
No.
And you can't find it.
All right, I'm gonna
I've
find
been
out.
Okay.
trying.
All
I'm
right,
trying to get a copy of the contract and find out if for 9/1, you guys broke it, because that would be for the next meeting, you could vote on it, what it would cost if you broke your contract.
okay.
Do you know what
So,
I mean? Because I
yes.
put it on August and it would be canceled for 9/1 if you can cancel it. So I'm gonna ask them to make it to the end of August, what it would cost if you broke your contract.
Contract.
So we can see what it costs, and if
Right,
it
and
ends
I'll
up
put it
being
on the next
expensive to
agenda.
cancel, we can at least make it a little bit more accessible for everybody, because you weren't able to find it, we can at least get it on the website, link to it.
I would also just suggest, and I'm happy to do it, but if anyone else wanted to talk to John Semino and just see if the pension board information is being put in, or if there is any
On there,
piece of,
is it?
yeah, or if that is if that's why it's
I don't
being
think-
billed, if it's
no,
in there.
not.
They're not.
It's not.
We
I don't
have
believe
to-
it
I
is.
just don't know if it's
No.
somewhere,
It's not.
You already asked, you already
We
spoke with
asked
John?
him, you know, but after the last meetings, he's not putting our pension stuff on there.
Yeah, it was up to
But-
us too.
So who would give OpenGov the information to put on the website for the pension board?
Well, that's what would have to be decided, if we were gonna have to have
I
Tracy
actually
or,
really honestly don't even think it should come from me. I would think Clearbrook would just send it to, do you know what I mean? Because I remember during the interviews that that's what was interviewed, that they had the capability of actually downloading or sending it to them.
Right, so- but you.
But I could,
you
yes.
changed Clearbrook now, so
Mhm.
if you don't know that you have OpenGov, Clearbrook,
They don't
No,
know.
they put it
They
down,
would
but I'm
have
just
to
saying,
know.
maybe they could put it on, or I could,
yeah,
or finance
or
could.
the finance.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hopefully
All
we
right,
can get
let's-
rid of them altogether. and just
I'll find out
get
from
the
them.
rest
Yeah,
of
I
it.
don't need them.
That's why I prefer getting it to block them. That's all I want to see anyway, is the cash flow.
So in other
All right,
words,
so
you
you
get
want-
the first year of this contract, you're already seeing the contract.
no, well, the contract was definitely seen by the chairman and vice chairman. I mean, I think the vice chairman is the one who negotiated it. So it was seen.
But nobody uses it.
Right.
Right, no one has used it.
Their contract somewhere.
Well, we're gonna get a copy. We'll definitely get a
Hope
copy.
it is. If it's not, that didn't go.
Well, it's nothing complicated, out of it, you already paid 1 year.
Well, we have to see what the contract says. I mean, it could be
Stipulation, we can get out.
a year-to-year contract with just guaranteed prices for the next 3 years, or it could truly be a 3-year contract. I don't know.
I have been locked in, because I can remember our old vice chair negotiated it, it got it down to 2,000 from whatever it was.
It was higher, yeah.
Yeah, I remember all that, but,
Can I just ask a question to be out of line? Did he show you how to, the vice chair,
nor did the chair.
Show
I
us
don't
what,
they didn't show you how to
I don't know anything
access
about
this?
OpenGov.
no. I mean, I do believe that, like I said, when they had the training session for the town, I'm sure the board per se was invited, but I don't know if anybody's particularly had an invitation or just a general invitation. And I don't think the previous chair or vice chair went, so I think it sort of fell through the cracks.
Okay. Other question?
All right, so do we want to make a motion to have her get a copy of the contract, or we just table this? What-
I'll make a motion to table H3 for now, and we can work on getting a copy of the contract as well. I don't think we need a motion for that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table H3.
Second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Section 3 is, in terms of what he's using it for, or how much it costs? Everything.
Richie, he's got the contract.
Yeah, he probably does, so if that can be our, all right, so, you know.
You can call him tomorrow and find out more about that if you want.
If you have time. that would
Yeah, I
be
do.
Great, okay. Okay, section I, applications approved.
You're gonna have to
This,
table that.
yeah,
Still waiting for amounts for that?
Huh?
Table I,
yeah.
still waiting.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to table item I.
Motion's been made to table I, any second?
I
Somebody's-
second it.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
I's been tabled. Section J, death benefit. There's nothing,
I
we have
didn't
anything
know
new
if
here.
you guys have anything on that, so I keep Mrs. Kelsey on.
It's pending, will be in court next week.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll just keep you.
So I have to table
Can you
J as
table
well.
that, please?
You want to table it or no action?
Table it, because I want to
I'll
put
make
it
a
on.
motion to table, actually, I'm recusing on that one.
I make a motion to table it.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You abstain.
Ayes have it, motion's tabled. Item K, anything new for
Yeah,
Paul
it's in
Carrington
your packet.
Quadro?
There's an email. You gotta use the attached packet.
Yeah.
Is here, fact.
I just put the email when we put it in there. If you wanna wait for executive.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I just couldn't turn on my microphone. Yeah, I would just put that in executive session. There is an email that gives a quick update on that.
Okay, so we'll just,
So I would just cover that in executive session.
all right, item L, Pension Board Opinion Form 2016-1. Do I have any discussion on that? Is this one you're abstaining from?
No.
No, okay,
We'll see.
all right.
Thought I saw something about that.
Yeah, those are probably the original applications, form.
Okay, this is the DiCaprio. This is the other one.
That's the one for,
Gavin Burley?
yes.
That's the one, right?
Mhm.
Okay, and you have it right here. There's a letter here from you.
Oh, yeah, but that letter, I just told him that we'd like to come to discuss it.
You're right.
I just
Okay.
gave him notification that,
He's not
Spend.
here.
no. Jimmy is though for the next one.
Right.
But that was just, I sent it out because you guys asked me to send it out, a little
Yep.
notification.
Okay, well then, that's what we'll talk
Well,
about.
do we have any opinion from our legal counsel on this?
Now, what we had decided on a process for the pension board opinion request forms was that the questions on the forms would be put to see if there was a discussion and input from the board, from the public, however everyone wanted to do that, before it was decided whether or not that was something that needed to go to legal counsel or not. So that decision hasn't been made if it needs to go to me, or if that's a decision that the pension board wants to make. So that, having reviewed the question that's asked, there are a couple of facts that I would point out that the pension board would need to be able to answer the question. The first question is, as an employee of the fire department, and it's a question about early retirement. The things you don't know are if the person is a firefighter or if they're a civilian member, which does make a difference depending on the CBA. There's different definitions for firefighter members or civilian members. So I would recommend getting that information. The other thing that you don't know is how old the person is, which I'm assuming we could find out. But based on just looking at the form, you don't know the person's current age, which would also be something you would need to know depending on if they'd be able to take that option or not. So my recommendations would be to get that information, but certainly it's an issue that the board can discuss and I'd be happy to look into.
I think a lot of this comes down to interpretation of the CBA
Right.
what it states in that, so.
And there's really not a whole lot in the CBA when it speaks to vested benefit. It's really held in the plan. It's something that just kind of, I guess, got left behind as the contracts have changed and the retirement plans have changed. So, I mean, I do agree with you that we should get that information. I don't know how you guys feel about sending it to legal, but that's just part one of that question. I think it has more to do with vested benefit and when you're able to collect your vested benefit.
Well, seeing it's a part of the contract, shouldn't we be able to decipher what it's all about? Can we make our own decision based on that?
You can. I think what David is referring to is that the CBA, the plan for the police and fire, and the consent judgment all have information about answering that question, and they're not necessarily the same.
What's not the same, the police and the fire?
There's a provision in the plan for police and fire that talks about an
Right.
early retirement option.
Okay.
There's also a provision in the CBA for fire that talks about an early retirement option. There's also information in the consent judgment that talks about the early retirement option. So the consent judgment and the CBA are not as hard to reconcile, but the plan with the CBA is, there are open questions, I think is the best way for me to say that.
Well, if this was all put together, we should definitely have an answer then. We should be able to come up with an answer.
One of many reasons that the redraft is on here as an agenda item.
Wow.
I can read I have the applicable sections tagged in purple, so I can read them to you if you want, if that's helpful, or I could go
If
through.
you can read the CBA portion of that, whatever relates to this question from the CBA.
Sure.
I think we can see how vague it's left. It's not.
I read through some of it,
it's
and there was
not
nothing
very,
about using time to find out time to fast.
So if you look at, well, you don't have, but I'll read. Looking at the 2006 plan for police and fire, section 5.04 is early retirement benefit. So this is the 2006 plan for police and fire.
Section 5.04, is that?
That is.
I
Uh,
got this if you guys want it.
Oh, you have it.
Oh, we're good. You got it all together?
There you go.
I did.
Nice.
There you go. Look at it.
So-
She's going to read it, so.
5.04 is early retirement benefit, and it says the early retirement benefit of a member who elects an early retirement benefit shall be an amount commencing on his early retirement date, which is actuarially equivalent to the portion of the normal retirement benefit accrued by the member up to the date his service terminates. So that's the amount. 4.07 is early retirement date with consent. And it states a member who has reached his 50th birthday and has completed 10 years of continuous service may elect an early retirement date which shall be the first day of the month thereafter as elected by the member, provided that he terminates service with the town.
Well, but he has less than 10 years, though.
The
Right
the
now-
person.
Right now, the one we're talking about has less than 10 years.
Well, the question is that the person's considering vesting upon reaching 10 years.
Right.
That, which is, that brings up another issue with answering these questions that I know I've addressed to the board before, which is whether or not you're going to give an opinion of
But over here, it says
in the
completed
future.
10 years.
I'll say.
Well, it's, they most of them say continuous service to be vested for 10. I believe that says continuous service as well, right?
It does.
It does, so continuous service is not, that's 10 years of continuous service. It's not, the way I understood it is you couldn't buy your time to vest. I mean, you can work for a year and then buy 9 years worth of time, or whatever the case might be. I mean, obviously, you can't do that, but.
Right, no.
Yeah, to me, it means continuous service, so,
Well, that's just the plan.
yeah, just the plan. I know they all contradict each other,
There's,
but.
yeah.
Yeah.
What is the vested benefit portion in the plan? That's in there.
The vested benefit portion of the plan I don't have tagged,
Can I see that?
so if you want to grab it.
Oh, sure, but
I
he's,
know we went through it.
but he's in his 9th year. So if he's in his 9th year, and the way I see it, it has to be 10 years, it has to be.
Yes, absolutely.
So he's good, so he doesn't have 10 years, he's got 9 years.
Correct,
Going into the 10, he hasn't finished the 10th year.
correct.
Okay, so,
He wants to know when he's gonna get it once he completes his 10 years.
yeah, but according to that, it doesn't say he's gonna finish his 10 years. Am I right in saying that?
Why wouldn't he finish his 10 years?
Well, it says it right here.
He's trying to.
I think he's jumping ahead to the,
Oh, yeah, I think
you're
you're
jumping
looking at
ahead
the
to the
second
accrual
question.
part. Right.
The second question,
No, it says vesting upon reaching my 10 years of service. He's
Right.
considering, he's saying he's not gonna finish, he's saying he's considering finishing his 10 years. I mean, that's the way I see it. That's why he should be in here.
well, that's why I sent the letter.
Oh,
I sent it to
Yes,
me.
you covered your buck.
yeah, he should be here.
I covered your butt.
Yeah. So what I would do,
Jimmy's here.
Let's see if he's thinking about
well, here's what I figure we do, okay? Here's what I say.
It's confusing.
I say that we table this until we get Mr. Darren in here. And find out exactly what his true intentions are.
David, are you here for us? Oh, no, okay.
And then it will help make us, give us a better way to make a decision. That's how I see it. Then again, it's just me.
Is an option.
902.
That's what I say.
I thought you were asking about the definition of a vested benefit.
no, no.
That's why I was looking for,
No, 902,
yeah, do you want to read it? Or you want me to? Okay.
please.
Okay. So 902 is vested benefit, and it's under Article 9, which is termination of service before retirement. It says, if a member has completed 10 years of continuous service as an employee, and his service is terminated for any reason other than death, retirement, or discharge for cause, he may elect to leave his own contributions in the fund and receive a deferred benefit commencing on his normal retirement date if he is living on such date. His vested benefit will be an amount equal to the amount of monthly normal retirement benefit he had accrued up to the date of termination of service, based on the provisions of the plan in effect on the date he terminated his service.
So I think that's the key word, that he wants to know when it says you're gonna receive a deferred benefit commencing on your normal retirement date. He wants to know, when is that normal retirement date now, because the plan has changed. His normal retirement date would have been 20 years of service at any age. Now it's different, it's 25 years of service, you have to be at least 50. So he wants to know, is it my 25th year of service, when I turn 50? What's the answer? He doesn't know. It's not in our CBA, and all we have to go by is what we have. It's left in the plan. Now, I don't know what you have in the consent judgment.
And the CBA and the consent judgment are pretty close to each other. So when you look at, well, is the person a firefighter or are they a civilian member?
Yeah.
Firefighter. Okay. Well, it's fire department. That's why I didn't know if it was a firefighter or a civilian.
Well, my question, I put firefighter.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, can firefighter, yeah.
Because, and the reason I ask is because, and I'm reading from the consent judgment. Effective July 1st, Effective July 1st, 2014 and thereafter, the retirement age for all current firefighter members shall be the earlier of I, age 62, or II, age 50 and 25 years of service. Then it goes on to exempt a couple people and talk about some other stuff. But then section C says, effective July 1st, 2014 and thereafter, a civilian member may retire after 10 years of service, but shall not begin receiving his or her pension until such member attains the age of 60 years. So that was why I was making the
What was
distinction
that
earlier.
consent judgment, the first part, was it an earlier of 50?
Earlier of 62
Yep.
or 50 and 25.
So it would be 62 or 10. You'd have to go 62.
Or a combination of 50 and
Or a
25.
combination of 50 and 25.
Right. And the plan says 50. There is not an early retirement provision in the CBA
Right,
for
there's not-
fire.
No.
So you have to look to the early retirement provision in the plan for police and fire, which says 50.
With 25 years of service.
It's 50 with 10 in the plan, but it's 50 with 25 for normal retirement in the CBA. Early retirement isn't addressed in the firefighter CBA.
Okay, so what we have on early retirement is 62, basically in the CBA, right? So 62 with 10
No,
years.
that's still normal.
That's still normal?
No, 62,
Age
right.
62 with 10 years.
Age 62,
62, no
age
years.
62.
Age 62, I'm sorry.
Right,
So age
the-
62 or age 50 with 25.
Yes. And that's for people who are hired on or before July 1st. I'm
Okay.
not,
Sure.
there's other,
Which he is, so, yeah.
there's, yeah, I assume that. So
Yeah.
there's other pieces we won't
Right.
cover right now,
Sure.
but it changes.
Right.
So, Krista, if the plan says 50, right, and they're vested, wouldn't it be on their 50th birthday if they're vested?
The
The
plan,
early retirement?
What's it, 50 with 25
25
years?
No,
years.
but I'm talking about just the plan under
The
the early
plan-
retirement.
Then it
the
has,
plan vests you after 10 years,
Right, that's what it
but says that you collect on your normal retirement.
So you would have to do 20.
25.
It's
There's an
kinda
early
tricky.
retirement in the
Right.
plan if you're 50 with 10 years
Yeah.
Right.
to collect immediately. So that's where the answer doesn't, the question doesn't get answered any further than that. That's where the disconnect is. Because to hit a normal retirement as a firefighter, you need 62 or 50 with 25.
That's
Neither of which you would have if you're 50 with 10. Does that make sense? Does that make sense that it doesn't make sense?
To me, I read it as the plan says.
We're going to give a full pension to someone at the age of 50, which is 10 years?
It's reduced.
No, it's a reduced benefit.
Okay, reduce,
I still think that sounds like he
okay,
gets it.
reduce.
because there's still the
CBA
early
silent.
retirement provision in the plan that
Yes.
says 50 and 10 years.
Right,
Right.
and it's silent in the CBA.
The CBA only addresses an early retirement provision with regard to civilian, no, with civilian
Oh, yeah, 10
members.
and 60.
Is 10 and 60. It doesn't address firefighter members in the CBA. Or in the consent judgment, but it doesn't change.
I would recommend that we copy those provisions in the article, those articles, and send them to them, and not move to legal until we need to. I mean, unless you guys feel that we should send it
So-
over there or what.
Just give him information, but no
Give-
opinion.
Give them
From
our
us.
opinion, you know, and the information from the CBA and the retirement. Or, unless you feel we should send it to legal.
No, I think if we come up with an opinion here, then that's fine.
No, jumping the gun.
But my suggestion would be, it might be helpful if all the members had the different sections of the plan put together in one place so that each of you could review it.
Right.
And see if
I
it's
agree.
something that you can discuss amongst yourselves and if you want to send it to legal or not at that point, once you've had a chance to read each of those sections. I know we read them out loud, but it's really hard to go back and forth when you're doing it right at the moment. I think it is. I was doing it on paper and it's really hard, which I'm happy to do, but again, if someone else wants to do that, then I'm happy to have that happen as well.
I don't think it's a bad idea, just getting all the applicable, provisions of the plan, the CBA, look at it all. If we each have an opinion, when you think he's gonna get it, when I think he's gonna get it, what Lou thinks, and Mr. Fonseca, if we can all agree on a date, then we can just give him an opinion. If we disagree, then I think we can move forward there, but.
I mean, I can copy and paste the provisions to you guys in a quick email, and that is not an excessive amount of time to do that. If you want me to do, I can just do that in the morning and send you I'll just put the sections that we
Apply.
talked
Right, and
about.
then we can look
Right,
them up.
and then you can look them up, and that can be something that you can
Are those
discuss.
the only ones that you know of, the 504, 407, 902?
And that, in the plan, yes, and then in the
The
CBA,
CBA,
I can give you the sites to the pages if you want in the CBA and the consent judgment.
And what about the Ferrera opinion? Does that apply to this?
You're taxing my memory on the Ferrara opinion.
That was a similar issue with
I believe, yes.
police officer who vested, and she was collecting a vested benefit, and then for some reason there was a push to.
Oh, you know what? No, I remember that. There were different things that were happening in that case. There may be pieces of that opinion that can be applying here, but yeah, no, the circumstances were different. I can attach the opinion too, because I think I know
If you
we have
don't
new
mind.
members that haven't seen it,
Yeah,
so.
if you don't mind, I'll look
Yeah.
at it again.
And just keep it all in the same
'Cause I
spot.
remember having to do with vested benefit with the police and fire plan, that's the most recent that I know of.
It did, but it was more sick time and vacation time and how that worked, and it was more the second part of the question, so it does come into play.
All right, if you can add that also.
Yeah.
Also, upon reading all this stuff, we should know the person's age, shouldn't we?
I can tell you he's not 50.
He's 50?
Not,
He's not 50, okay.
Yeah, we can
That would
get,
be helpful knowing his age.
Yeah, we just want to send out a quick.
yeah, if we can get
ask
some
him
information on
his age.
I can also send you, there's a provision in the CBA that relates to the second part of the question, and I might as well include it on there as far as using the time toward vesting.
Oh,
There is a part in the fire CBA, under, let's see, what this person referenced, which is, Article 8, Section 1D. That, Section 1D is accumulated sick leave on retirement or termination. And there's a part that states the first part talks about a payout. So then the second paragraph says, in lieu of the foregoing, an employee may elect to have such unused accumulated sick leave credited towards his or her retirement, in which event the employee would be entitled to take what, in effect, amounts to an early retirement, but would receive during such period his full pay until the date of his normal retirement. So that's the piece of the CBA that then goes toward the second question. Obviously, the issues that come up with that are normal retirement versus an early retirement. Also, the question just addresses accrued time, which would include more than just sick time, and this provision only talks to sick time.
provision of the CBA only references sick time.
Correct. So I'll include that as well, but I just wanted to point it out.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable making an opinion without having an hour to look at everything and refresh
Right.
myself. I don't know how anyone else feels, but I don't think it's a bad idea to kind of push it off for a month, look at it all.
Totally.
And if we all agree, we all agree. If we don't, then we move forward from there.
I'll put them all together and I'll email them out in the morning.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll make a motion to table item L.
I second it.
Item L's been, motion's been made to accept and, well, I'm goofy today. We got a first and a second motion to table item L. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion carries. Item M, Pension Board Opinion Form 2016-3. This one, you're.
That's the one you're
Using-
using. Yeah, I would just say that.
Do I have to leave or?
It's public, so.
Public session, so. Yeah, if you don't want to just make it known or want me to make it known.
Yeah, just say you're recusing
I'm just
yourself.
going to recuse myself from item M.
Okay. So that leaves three of us to discuss this. I mean, just from what I read, in my opinion, it just seems that it's not something that we can grant an exception to.
No, I don't think so.
Again, I know we have some new board members, but there is an opinion that the board did in the Henault matter that is not the same question, but discusses a similar circumstance as far as someone, if they could be under an old CBA or a new CBA and the board's powers about that. I don't know if you guys have copies of that, but I'm happy to email that as well, if you think that might be helpful. It is in a formal opinion of the board that talks about similar issues.
Is it similar to this situation right here?
Yes.
Very similar?
It's a different contract, so similar, but very, very similar as far as one contract versus the other and it changing the benefits, so,
And it was okay the last time?
no,
They didn't okay it?
no.
That'll help us make our decision. Because, again, I see this right here. I mean, it says 23 years of service at age 60, but in the last contract, it's a contract, and it was changed to 62. I mean, we grandfather this, I feel as though we're open for a precedent here. I mean, who else is going to come aboard next year? and want to be grandfathered. That's how I look at it.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, what's it? Yeah, please come to the podium, push the button so that you're on the microphone. Oh, it's already on, you're all set.
I'm the one that, when this last contract came into effect, there's only 3 people that this involves, myself being one, and there's 2 other people that I work with at the plant. I work at the wastewater plant. One guy is already 60, and he does not, as far as I know, he's not going to leave until whatever time he puts in. And there's one more guy that's 58, and I believe he's not going to be leaving either. So I'm the only one that got affected by this. You know, before, in past contracts, people were grandfathered in with short time, the older guys. And at this time, when this contract went into effect, I had 4 years and 9 months left. So I'm less than 5 years. You know, that was my intent when I took the job, that I was going to leave in 2017. But right now, as far as I know, I'm the only one in town that's being affected by this.
But so has anyone in the town ever been grandfathered once before?
Well, yeah, they did about 4 years ago. They grandfathered.
Sanitation, I think.
They did, 20, anybody with 20 years. I don't know, I'm not sure how many people took it, but there was a few people that did take it.
Okay, was that because they were grandfathered or because they wanted to just
They were
get
given
them off the
They
board?
were given the option to leave.
Oh, to
leave or
leave,
stay.
okay.
Yeah, they made an exception for that when they eliminated sanitation, I believe, that they let the
Yeah,
guys
because they
go.
eliminated the position.
They eliminated that, yes, and they gave the guys the option to go early retirement. And I know a number of them took it, so they have made exceptions to the contract in the
And-
past. I mean, I don't know where that came from.
It
That
came
wasn't
from the town.
from the town.
The
yeah.
town?
That's the issue. The CBAs, when they're negotiated, probably should not come from the pension.
So maybe it shouldn't come from us, it should
Probably
come from the
should go
town.
It probably should have been the town.
They would be the ones to
Grandfather, you
grandfather.
in, with the CBA, that's usually how it happens.
Right,
So-
the pension board doesn't
can't
have
make
that
that
authority,
decision.
is the issue. And that was one of the things that was discussed in the Heenald opinion that I was referencing, is whether or not the pension board could, even if they wanted to. And they can't.
So who makes this decision?
It would be the town, and when it happened in the past as part of a CBA, there have been certain individuals who have been accepted out of CBA changes. Those individuals have actually been named in the CBA as not being affected by a certain change, and that's through the town when they negotiate the CBA.
So then, at the town council meeting next month, they could put that on their agenda, couldn't they? To take this into
Absolutely.
consideration? And then we could, because you're looking to retire at 3/28/17. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I was going
Yeah.
to stay till the end of June, June 30th next year.
Of next year?
Yeah,
Okay, so,
I'll have my 23 years, and I'll be 60 in January, and I'll have my 23
okay, so then
years.
we have time. We can have another month, we could put it in front of the town council.
Yeah.
And then we could take it from there.
Okay, I was under the assumption that the pension board
Yeah.
made these decisions.
Well, I'm learning all this too.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you,
Sure,
Mr.
thank
DiCaprio. So, make a motion to put this in front of the town council. Oh, we don't have to do that. Okay, good, all right. Okay, not us, okay.
That's my task was
So, see town council.
he would have to leave that out.
Yes, no,
We're not
correct,
doing that.
correct.
Okay, good.
I guess,
So, yeah, that's what he's denying this motion.
You'd be denying the issuance of an official opinion, correct?
Yes, I make a motion that we deny the decision, informing the opinion. 2016 dash. Why, it wasn't on? Say it again?
Okay, so we have one motion. You not gonna second? I know I'm allowed to break ties, but am I allowed to second?
No,
Second
can't.
either.
I'm of the opinion that we should do an opinion letter at least so that the town council has our opinion on the matter. You know, I mean, it's not legally binding. Sorry. Is that, an opinion letter from the board, is that a legally binding letter? I mean, what type of weight does that hold?
The board interprets the plan.
Okay, so is it?
So the board can interpret what has been written,
Yep.
and if there's an ambiguity, then that's where you step in as the people who are reading the words.
Yeah.
So you could issue an opinion that would be similar to the opinion, if this is where you're going, that was issued in Henault, that was saying that, that the pension board doesn't have the authority to make this kind of a decision. If that was what you were thinking, you could do that.
Yeah, but it's still up to the town council. So no matter what,
Yeah, okay.
no
well,
matter
we'll-
what our
we'll do
opinion
that, and
is,
I'll
it's not
second
gonna
the
take
motion.
any effect.
You can make the motion again, I'll second it.
Okay, here we go again. I make a motion that we deny the decision based on Form 2016-3.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay. Item N, letter job for income verification.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's you.
And I just wanted to point out, I noticed, on the minutes from last month, that it looks like it was item O at that point, and the same for item Q. It indicates motion made to approve on both of them, but it was a motion made to approve, or to table. And I just noticed that it said approve, and I just wanted to clear that up, that it's on the agenda for this month, so obviously it was tabled, but just to clear up, that there was nothing approved other than tabling things at last month's meeting.
Thank you for that correction.
Sure. I have an email ready to send actually to the board with all of the information that we've compiled. I tried to start from the beginning. It was a long process, and I know most of the members of this board, well, half the people who are here, were not involved in the process that initially began with this. So what I did was I have taken the kind of historical, for lack of a better word, documents, and I've attached them all into an email so that everybody can get caught up to date and have the background they need to review it all, so that a decision can be made by the board whether or not to proceed forward in the process that was discussed before any of you were on it, which was probably 6 months ago at this point. So what I've included in the email, which I'll send right after the meeting, is a copy of the letter that had been sent discussing the initial process, and then a copy of a letter that was sent after that. There was a meeting that was had discussing a process for getting more input from the disability groups and from the public. Then there was a draft letter that would go out with certain charts that we put together that explained each of the different provisions, and there are also a couple of legal opinions that we've pulled. So I have all of those ready to be sent, but I wanted to give a little bit of context before you got an email that had 10 attachments and didn't know why you had them all. So I tried to give each of you each of the documents you would need to see what's going on with it. So you should be able to review it and have all the information that you need, similar to the one I'll send tomorrow with the sections of the plan that apply. I pulled out the sections of the plan that apply to that, and those are attached as PDFs. So it's not the whole plan, it's just the sections that apply. So I will hit send as soon as the meeting is over.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I would recommend tabling that.
Make a motion to table item O.
Second.
N. Not O-N.
Oh, I looked at the wrong one, I'm sorry. Make a motion to table item N.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, and the man is tabled. Item O, probationary period for contributions. Is that what we were discussing?
Yes.
If I'm recalling correctly, and Tracy, step in if I'm wrong, we're just having issues with Nyhart in terms of gray area with probationary period, or does it count, does it not count? Because during the probationary period, they're not able to contribute to the plan, so therefore they're not counting that as time of service.
Just going back there.
Yeah, this is going back to all the old people, there's
Down
gonna be
the-
a lot of problems.
Plan excluding police and fire? Or is
It's
this-
just that as CBA, we never paid for 6 months, you guys don't pay sometimes for a year, they used to hold back.
Right.
So now all these people that are retiring, Nyhat's telling me they don't have enough time in, but they're retired because they're missing the beginning contributions
months or
that
a
were
year.
held back, like we're gonna fall
We
into
don't
that.
do that now, do we, Tracy? They
Well,
pay.
no, we were, and then now the
They're paying.
small group is able to buy back, remember we just did this with a lot of the fire probation trainees and stuff? We used to do that back in the day, and all these people retiring now have missing contributions. Us is for 6 months, and fire and police, they used to hold back for a year.
That was part of the CBA.
Right, right, but they're just like asking me all these questions, I feel I should tell them, you know, if he's missing a year of contributions, that it's okay. I think you guys need to make a decision.
Anything.
But none of these microphones are on, so if none of them are on, then nobody
nobody hears
can hear
anything.
anything, right? It'll be silent.
Mine's on.
Okay.
So I guess the issue is, I mean, are we gonna consider this factor? If somebody put in 20 years, but because of that 6-month probationary period,
Or a year.
or a year,
Whatever-
NIHAT's
whatever
now
it
saying,
is.
well, you don't have the time in, so we're not giving you your pension.
Right, but that was part of the CBA at the time, was you didn't make contributions your probationary year. And the way the contracts read now, it's 20 years of continuous service. Whether you were probationary or not doesn't really matter. It doesn't say 20 years of continuous service excluding any probationary time. It's just, it's service is service. The reason why they didn't pay at the time was because it wasn't part of the contract. You didn't pay at the time.
Right.
They decided to change that down the road because of people that, you know, you could get hurt while you're probationary and you're not even making contributions to the plan. There was a lot of issues with not making contributions, so they decided that as soon as you start getting paid, you're making contributions. But that was a change that was made. You know, going back to this is just the way they used to do it.
So for the amount that wasn't contributed at the time, and let's say they're short by 6 months or even a year, who comes up with that contribution?
Well, there was no contribution that was owed because it wasn't part of the,
Right, but now you're saying
CBA.
it's changed, it's 20 years of,
the only thing that's
service no
changed
matter
is
what.
that if you were to start now you are paying as soon as you start. But 20 years ago, you didn't start paying as soon as you started.
You
It's
could
just-
have a lot of gaps,
So
even
the-
in. if you have
okay, so
needs
then
to
we gotta
have
go
since-
according to that then.
Right.
You've got to go with, if you've got 30 years of continuous service, you've got 30 years of continuous service. You can't make somebody pay something that they didn't owe.
Right, but see, that's
30
what
years ago.
NIHOT's
Right,
question
but
is.
that's-
They're seeing a gap.
Right,
Right.
and
The
they're
gap should be
basically
there.
saying then they don't get credit for it, and
Right.
I'm not gonna be the one to make that decision, so I need
No,
something
they-
from
they
you
get
guys,
credit
because I'm
for it.
stuck.
The way that
they do.
continuous service is defined in the plan is, well, I'm just reading the police and fire plan, but I can check, I think it's the same in both, is the latest period of unbroken service in years and completed months, I'm skipping, but for which the employee has made contributions required under section 3.06. That's what Nyhart's questioning.
Yes.
Because continuous service requires contributions. So if there's a period with no contribution, that doesn't count toward
Making
continuous
required
service.
contributions, but the contributions weren't required
They
at the
weren't
time.
even offered at the time.
Correct.
So there is no contributions that were required. That's,
Okay, so then they shouldn't be getting paid for that then. They should be, so if they got 20 years in, but they had a probation period of 1 year, then they shouldn't be getting paid on 20 years. You should be getting paid on 19 years.
Well, the problem is,
But
Louis, they
yeah,
didn't,
there's a problem.
they didn't offer them the option to pay in back then. And they
Exact-
were under the assumption that those years were being credited.
Well, we
towards their
can't
pension.
assume, because when we assume, you know
Well,
what that means.
No,
You know what I'm trying to say?
This affects a lot of people too.
It affects
because
a lot
this-
of
This
people.
goes back just until recently that we started paying in from the beginning.
Yeah, I understand, but why should I get paid for 20 years when I only put in 19 years of contributions?
because that's
I
the way
don't
the
see that.
CBAs were at the time.
Yeah, but at the time, well, then they changed
You
it,
can't,
just, no?
you're looking at it wrong. It's, when you start, you're under a certain contract. That contract might change 5 years later, 10 years later. You can't go back and say, well, the contract's changed, you owe us
Right.
from year one.
it just goes
You've,
on.
you've already moved past your first year. You can't go back and make somebody pay contributions on something.
Right, exactly, so they shouldn't be considered that year.
But the service is
I
still
mean,
service.
we're trying to give a gentleman here grandfather rights, and we can't make a decision on that, but yeah, we're gonna make a
Do you know
decision
what
on
year we're
this.
talking about? What was the start year?
He
Was it-
had a 1991 start date, and he left, his application was on the last agenda,
91, and is it what plan?
municipal.
If we do this, how many more people will it affect?
It's gonna affect a lot of people.
That's a lot of money that's gonna be coming out of the
Hundreds.
pension.
Well, now you're gonna look into going back, because some people went out at 20 years.
Exactly.
Okay,
Right,
so
it
now
wouldn't
you've gotta
be
say,
right.
You're getting your pension, you weren't eligible for one,
Right.
so you can't get your pension
You're,
anymore.
like, you're going back for hundreds of years.
years.
You're right.
Exactly.
People that are already
Yeah,
retired.
you won't.
Okay, we have a gentleman here.
This,
You gotta excuse me, I've lost my voice.
That's all I know.
Gene Tullier, I'm one of the original writers of the pension plan. The first year of police and fire paid nothing because you could be let go for no cause, just because somebody didn't like you. But you were always guaranteed that year would be added at the end of your years of service, and you would be given credit, and at that time the town was picking up the tab.
Was that assumed or was that actually written in the contract?
That's the way it was,
because of the continuous years from your data hire.
from the day you were hired.
It was an interpretation of.
Current CBA at the time.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
But I think it's
So to go back and now
the
not
same.
give credit for that year
that.
is violating the previous CBA.
And you're talking peanuts.
Well, I think
Yeah.
the question is what the
Talking
definition of
peanuts.
continuous service was in 91. I thought I had it, but I only have police and
Because-
fire. But I can pull it.
When you get to the end, you're paying a lot more out of your check. That first year, I was making, I think, $96 a week. I wouldn't, they didn't feel anything when they gave me that.
Thank you, Mr. Tullier.
So basically, in order for me to get these calculations done, NIHOT just keeps firing email after email to me, and they're telling me within probation periods, not based on the plan docs, they're not getting credit for it. I need you guys just to give me the right to say it's the higher date
Right.
going forward, because the future ones, after all of us are finished,
Yeah, that's been
it'll be rectified
Right, now
going
you have to
forward.
pay.
Yeah,
Do you
you
know what
have
I mean?
to.
But I didn't want to answer this on my own, so I called Lou because I can't get these pensions calculated.
They keep kicking back.
Yeah, so that's why I
It-
put it on the
it-
agenda. It's just higher date. I need something from you guys to get these calculated
Yeah,
in
I-
writing, or a vote.
I would strongly recommend, sorry Kevin,
That's okay.
but that the definition of continuous service in the 1991 plan be reviewed. And if it discusses contributions versus the probationary period, that's an answer that you need to know.
NIAT works for you people, okay? You tell them what to do. So if you unanimously agree, say, look, we're not opening this Pandora box. It is what it is, okay? They have 10 years continuous service. They're vested in the pension plan, whether they paid that first year or not. It's our decision that these guys are vested and their pensions will continue as normal. Okay, because if they want to get into a Pandora's box, NIAT, okay, because there's no provision in your pension plan for a guy getting hurt one day on the job, and your pension plan calls for being vested 10 years. If you get hurt one day on the job, you guys say you can give a disability pension to a police officer or firefighter. There's no provision in your pension plan for that, but you made a conscious decision somewhere down the road that it doesn't matter how many years, day, 6 hours in a police car or fire truck, you get hurt, we're going to give you a pension plan, okay? Because we don't want to pay you 100%. That's the way it is, okay? There are loopholes in this pension plan. There's always has been, and there always will be. But for NIAT to say, you know, the calculation after, I don't know, 40-some years that these guys didn't pay into a pension plan, they work for you, okay? That's the bottom line. And that's what people forget. You're the boss, okay? You tell them what you want, and that be the end of it. And if they don't like it, then you fire them.
No, I agree with that completely, which is why
Thank you.
I'm
it's
not,
the board to decide.
not disagreeing. However, NIHARD is correct. Continuous service requires contributions. That is the way the plan, the CBA, that's the way the documents are written. So they are correct that if there's no contribution, there is no continuous service under this plan. That is the way it reads. I don't know what the plan read in 91 off the top of my head. It wouldn't really matter because the plan that would matter would be the plan that's in effect at the time of the retirement, which defines continuous service as when the person is making contributions. However,
I was just
David,
gonna look, too. I'll give it to you, but I was gonna do,
I was just gonna say.
it does, I was just
Oh,
gonna.
did you hear
do
my
it, too.
however, David? However, David points out something
We're
which is
gonna be
important,
the-
that the employee has made the contributions required under section 3.06, which then opens up the next, flip to the next section. You wind up at 3.06, and it talks about different contributions being required. And on or after March 1st, 1988, an employee who had a previous period of CETA participation, as defined in section 1.11, may elect to make contributions to the town of an amount which would have been made during such service if the employee had been eligible to do so, together with interest thereon, at the rate of not more than 8.5% per annum, during the period between the date that the contributions would have been made by the employee at their actual salary at the time of CETA participation, and the date of election to make the purchase of the period of CETA participation. Such election has to be made in writing within 2 years from the November 22nd, 1989, and shall be fully paid within 1 year of exercising said election. So when you flip back and forth on the way that the continuous service election was required, it did talk about a provision for having the contributions being made. It's talking about the CETA and former service, a long time ago. But there was a buyback, for lack of a better word, to have a person make an election to get that time to make those contributions. No, there is absolutely no discussions in 3.06 about a probationary period and how that comes in. But just to be clear, NIHART is correct in the way that they're interpreting this benefit and the
They did
definition
put,
of
yeah,
continuous
plan docs.
service in the plan docs. I just wanted to point that
So
out.
what does the CBA say for municipal? For a pension or from your date of hire? Doesn't it say
municipal?
something from your hire date?
Hang on, flip. Municipal pension is section 32.
I don't know if it's in pension or where. I don't even know, I was gonna look.
The pension section is, I think, one paragraph, and it's pretty tiny in the municipal plan, if I remember correctly. Let's see.
Sorry.
I have a question. Why is it all of a sudden this is coming up now, the probationary period?
It's the first time we're having issues with it with NIHART.
Okay, we never had an issue with anybody else
not in the
before
business.
NIAT? What did they do before NIAT? What did they do? They just paid it?
Gentlemen before them never had an issue with it.
No, they didn't, and
No,
I even,
never.
didn't I say that to you? I said that. I
Well, if
said,
that's the
I'm
case-
being questioned on every little gap.
Well, if that's the case, if we didn't have a problem before-
Well, to the credit of
David, can
NIHART,
I
they
see
are
that?
looking out for the fund and making sure that the contributions
that
exist
thing, yeah.
in what the benefits are going to be
Right, and
produced.
that's supposed to
So
be our job also, on the pension board. We're supposed to be saving money here, making sure everything goes, smoothly here. I mean, that's how I feel about it, so, but if they've done it before, there you go, you set a precedent now.
it would also, right, be
There
a
you go.
question of what the practice was with the town and how that was handled, and that I don't know the answer to, because I
That's,
didn't go any further on this.
depends on you guys, how you want to take this,
Well, I'm for. Give it a vote on.
okay?
The
Yeah, I'm for it, too. It's past practice.
Then I'll make a motion
the
make a
issue
motion.
is whether or not the pension board has the authority to change the definition of continuous service.
Well, if we did it before, I mean,
No, NIHART works for you, absolutely, but the pension board is here to interpret the plan, and the plan specifically says that continuous service is a specific definition. Now, if the interpretation that the board is making is that the contributions were not required, that would be an interpretation of continuous service under section 1.11. I'm just,
Very loyally,
that would be,
but then again, if it was done before, we never had a problem before.
They excluded,
I'm sorry, I just can't hear you.
they excluded policemen firemen from joining the pension. You didn't
For the
have that.
probationary period, correct. Yes, no, correct.
Right.
My
Yep.
employer, the chief of police,
You couldn't say, I want to
I
contribute.
want to pay into
No.
that pension.
No, it was,
You could, no, you could not. Correct.
Okay?
No, correct. I'm just saying, if the interpretation is that it was not required, then that is what I am saying.
I understand
The
yeah.
continuous service requires contributions, or excuse me, requires that the required contributions be made for it to accrue as continuous service. That is my point that I am saying as far as the plan for police and fire in 2006. Obviously, we all know that there's a redraft that is attempting to fill certain holes, and that is something that is addressed.
Seeing you're here this evening, what is your opinion?
In looking at the plan,
To
that the
give an
plan
answer.
requires that the continuous service is the latest period of unbroken service, summarizing, but for which period the employee has made the contributions required under this certain section. And, I mean, it goes on to stuff that is not as relevant, but that's what the plan reads, is that required contributions have to be made so that the contributions go into the plan, accrue the interest, and fund the benefit. That's the idea. I understand completely, and I appreciate the points that are being made as far as whether or not contributions were allowed. I do not know what continuous service said in the plans when the probationary period was in effect. I just don't know. I am certainly happy. I have all the plans in a book, a cart in my office, and I can take a look and email those to the board if you want to just see what the definition was at that time and if probationary periods were included or excluded. I would recommend that information before a decision is made.
If the CBA's,
I feel comfortable making a decision too.
Krista, if like the CBA's say completion of 25 years, wouldn't that just go from your hire date?
Right.
That's how I read it.
It would be the definition. It would. There's no definition of completion in the CBA, which would then go to the plan of continuous service, and that's what I have for continuous service. I don't know what it said. But what it currently says is what would matter for someone who's retiring now, because it would be the documents that are in effect today. I'm just saying if you wanted a historical idea of how it was intended to have been treated, that you could get that.
All I know is I need to get it calculated.
Magic word. Magic word. Required. It was not required.
Right, it wasn't required, and he has his completion.
I'll make a motion to allow the probationary periods to be counted because there was no required contributions at the time.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay. Oh. Okay, ayes have it, 2-1. Motion
So
carries.
basically, I can tell her that she can use the hire date.
Well, yeah, there's one more question on here though too, right? I mean, he didn't pay in for 91 or 92, so that's another.
Right,
That's
that's
the
what
next
I'm
question.
saying, we just have to use the hire date, so I
Sure.
think you have to make another
Okay.
motion, it's from the hire date,
Well, yeah, that we were never able to determine, right, why
I can't find it.
it was 2 years.
Maybe it was the tail end of 91.
Like maybe
Right.
he hired
I can
November
cover
of
one
91.
year.
Yeah, that's what I was
but-
thinking. Maybe it was the tail end and he
Yeah.
I
rolled
doubt
over.
that he got hired January 1st, 1991, you know?
Yeah.
That would be
Right.
the only
Right, and it
situation
could
where it
just
would only
be
be
the
1
gap
year.
of the way that they got reported over, and there's no payroll records, like from back then to look. I mean, I know he started in 91, I did find that.
Okay.
Is he the only one that keeps kicking back, or are there others?
There's going to be others.
There's gonna be a lot of them. if
There's
they-
going
He's
to
the
be a
one
lot
right
of
now.
them.
I don't understand why they haven't previously though,
When,
because we've had people.
I can say this,
30
right?
years
When
leaving.
Jimmy Tannen retired, Nyhot questioned me, but I actually just went right to Fred with that because, and
Yeah.
he gave the answer that it was fine. But now that I'm getting it again, do you know what I mean? I'm like, the board
So
just
even-
has to
Yeah,
tell me
yeah,
what
so
to
you
do
can send it to
and have
Nyhot.
a thing. I did get questioned on Jimmy, and I was
Alright.
just aggravated that day, and I just went right to Fred, and I got it from him, sent
Okay.
it to Nyhot. Probation period was probation period. But with Eddie's, it was just that little different, and now they're actually giving me more, that it's in the plan, and, you know, if you read it technically, he shouldn't be covered. This email's a little bit more, so I'm like, I just
Yeah.
brought it to you guys.
Alright.
I
Okay.
can't make
Yes,
that
sir.
decision.
Yeah, just Jerry tell you. Just a couple of things. Like you said, the requirement has been met, and I agree with that. But in this rewrite or redraft, are all of these things being addressed?
The intent of the redraft, which is very comprehensive, is to address all the issues that have become up in lots of sections of the plan. There are quite a few parts where the plan isn't consistent with the CBA. The CBA needs to be, the plan needs to be edited to have the CBA provisions put in there, or where there are things that just simply aren't addressed. For example, there are issues with workers' comp and how that's treated as far as time accruing, and things like that. That the intent is to create a redraft that can be sent to the town council, to be recommended to the town council, because they need to do the ordinance to actually approve the redraft, to fill the holes, if there are holes, or to incorporate the board's interpretations where there have been spaces in the plan that required interpretation, to put those into the plan so that interpretation is not required, that it is now in the plan that the town council approves. Because the pension board just interprets the plan. The town council is the one who has to actually
Approve
it, adopt it,
Right, no,
and
I
put it
agree
out
with
there.
that, but
Right.
as each meeting comes, it just seems like there's more loopholes, there's big net, big holes.
There are.
And this redraft has to come to an end at some point.
It does.
It's been going on for a long time, costing tons of money. And, no, that's just a simple question, but
It has
like
to be
David
accepted
says,
that-
and you can actually, like anything in the past, you can say from this point on, this is what's gonna happen. In the past, you gotta let it go. But from this point on, we see a discrepancy and we move forward.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Oh, absolutely. And the intent is to try and create a document that becomes a little more easily amendable, if that makes any sense. So that if there is something that comes up that requires interpretation, it would be an ability to have the town council, add section 1.2, or, add section 1.2A, or something like that, that would then incorporate and fix a loophole, if that comes up. The idea, these documents are stereo instructions, when you have to combine all of them and try and put it together. So the idea was to make it more user-friendly, have a definition section, have words that actually mean something capitalized so that you know that that's a defined term, so that you can go back, and to avoid having to go from section 1 to section 5 to section 3 to section 8 and trying to kind of comprehensive it, make it easier to follow. That's the intent. It is a long process. It's going to continue to be a process. But yes, it has come to the point. There were some workers' comp issues that were being worked out that had to get added in, but
And the other issue, and you just made a good point, that the council, I think, is the only one who can make the changes. And clear example is the MOUs that they signed with all of us. That's going to be an issue. That's an issue right now with Diane Kelsey. That, you guys can't even give a comment on it for like 3 months almost. I don't feel it's right, but we'll go to the court. She'll go to court and let the judge decide, and hopefully that'll end that. Again, interpretation. And this David Steele, this one, Lou, we've seen so many come and go. And when you start getting into records and stuff and we object, right now, you guys can see my records, that's fine. Now you're off, now you got 5 new people. They're off, they can look at your records, 5 more people, and it just continues, and I think that's a lot of concern with all of us, Talking about it is a good thing, in a civil manner. Past got ugly, I know.
Well, I've asked a question to one of our council members, how come they don't take a more of a role with the pension board? And they don't. And I think they should, because it will help matters a lot better, and will make matters a lot easier to make a decision also. And yet, we never see them, we never hear from them, and they never make any decisions.
And it costs yours, legal questions cost here, legal questions on the town side and everything, and the legal fund, you don't have a budget, you just pay. Nothing against you. You got a job to do. You got a job to do.
Well, that's the reason, another reason I asked the question, if we have a town solicitor, how come we can't go to him? And that's another thing.
You can.
So I understand, does he get a salary, or does he get paid by what he does?
Yeah,
He
no,
gets
by
paid
what
by
he
what he
does,
does.
yeah, but it's just something that, I'll use Angelo's term, kick the can down the road, kick it to somebody
Well,
else.
we can't keep kicking.
Yeah, and he's one of them who won't give you an answer.
Well, we need an answer.
I know.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I mean, I get on this to get answers, not to just be a puppet.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, is there anything else that you speed on item O. I'm not really up to speed on the exact, I'm just kinda catching up now.
On item
I
O?
don't think so.
Well, just because, like Jeff said, remember his was a little more, I couldn't find the rest of the contribution. So can I,
This one in particular, I don't know what is there anything else you need on it, or are you good with what you have?
What was the first date, what was the date of hire? I just,
it was, I didn't actually bring it, it was 1991 sometime.
okay.
So he would just have his like 25 going by his hire date, maybe a tad bit over. So what NIHA said is that they couldn't find, and I could cover the probationary period, but I couldn't find a little more of a gap. I don't know why there's no contributions. Once again, like Peter Martin, there's no payroll records.
Back that
The
far.
record, right, so we're going to have to use his hire date, so I need permission just to make sure.
You know what his hire date is?
Yeah, it's 1990, I have to run upstairs to get the exact date. It's 1991, I just don't know what month off the top of my head. Huh?
It's probably the tail end of 91.
For some reason, I think it's the beginning, I really do.
What are we gonna do if there is more? We already know there's more than 6 months.
There is, I think you need to put, like,
Assume there was some kind of screw-up and give him a pass, or do we?
When you get the
Hire date
breakdown, you
when
can
he starts
look at
his
it.
probationary time.
it is, it's 1991, so it makes him have his time. They're just questioning the contributions, but
Right,
it
if-
might be a little bit more for some reason.
Right.
They didn't have anything recorded for some reason for
For some reason,
1991.
they have more than 6 months to a year, or whatever.
Right,
That's a
it was
gap,
a little bit more, it's
exactly.
a gap, whether he had a,
You know what, it's fruit of the poisonous tree. If we agree that the contract says required contributions, and he wasn't required that whole time. I mean,
so we're good.
Well,
we don't
I
know
just
if
want to be clear, the current plan, which is the police and fire, right? Is that what we're talking about? No,
It's
municipal.
municipal.
Okay,
So
so,
that would be good enough.
excluding police
Just
and
say,
fire. Let me just
use
be
his
clear.
Date, he wasn't required contributions, and just calculate it. Okay, I get what you're
Alright.
saying.
so the 2006 plan excluding police and fire, the definition of continuous service is a long definition. I did not read the whole definition. The part that talks about the required contributions is section 3.06. That's the one that I read that talks about the CETA contributions. So that's the context that that word required contributions is in. And I understand the way that the board is interpreting that. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just making sure that it's clear that when you look at continuous service, the way that the paragraph reads is, I mean, I can read the whole thing, but the fragment of the sentence is and/or public service employment with the town under the Comprehensive Employment and Training Act, i.e. CETA, for which period the employee has made the contributions required under section 3.06. That's the 3.06 is the one I read that talks about buying back the CETA time and how you worked with the buyback on that. So when they talk about the contributions required under that section, that's specifically referencing a buyback of time around the CETA. I just want to make sure that everyone understands that that's the context that that's in there.
Okay. Why don't we, with him in particular, we've agreed what we're doing with probationary periods,
Right.
but get specific dates for him. And if it happens to be a 2-year period and it was only 6 months, then we have to address what we're going to do for the year and a half.
And I don't know if the probationary period timeline was broken down in either the plan or the CBA in 1991. That's why I was asking what month. I'm not sure, but that would be something I would recommend looking at to see what that period was, if it's in there, and I don't know if it is.
All right, so can we at least get that information?
What, his date of hire?
No, we need the CBA from 1991 in the plan,
Ah.
and that way we can see if it's,
If the probationary period is
His
defined.
date of hire also, and then also his first date of contributions, so we can see how much longer the gap was between probationary and when he started.
Right. Yeah.
And then I can put him on for approved and whatever for, like, then, once I get it, I'll have to put him on for received and approved, right?
No,
Once
not
we-
received and approved, because we don't know what that extra period is for yet. We agreed that probationary periods are not gonna count, they are gonna count towards their period of time.
But we don't know what his
What his particular-
specifics are.
Correct. You don't know what his actual period of probation was.
Could have been a 6-month and you didn't pay for 2 years. I mean,
That's what's not known. Or if the records are just
Right,
like,
and if it's our fault with records, then we'd probably have to pass, but.
Yeah, 'cause I can't find
25
any.
years ago.
Yeah. All right, the CBA, the plan
Yeah,
is
right.
data hire. But I'm saying eventually I gotta put them on the agenda for being received and then calculate and whatever, do you know what I mean?
He hasn't been received yet?
I don't think so.
Oh, we can probably,
Oh, yeah, he must have been received, yeah, he's received.
So he's received, he's
Yeah.
just not approved yet.
I mean, not approved, I meant to get him calculated and then put him on for being approved.
yeah, well, I think we still need this missing piece of information before we send it back to NIHOT.
Okay.
So we
So,
can just
he has,
table it.
so he has to
You know what
wait
I
till
mean?
the
Yeah.
next,
Because that would mean we have to wait till next month, and if we agree, then we'd have to wait till the month after.
Right, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
what she's saying. Like, we
Yeah.
could put it on the agenda, and we can look at all the information.
that's what I
next
guess I'm
month.
saying, maybe I should just throw him on the agenda.
And if we still don't have the information, Lou, we can just.
I gotta
table
put
it.
him back on
Okay.
as
But if we do have
being,
the information, at least we can approve it right then and there.
All right.
right. Well, but I still won't be able to get it calculated before the next meeting, because you're gonna look
I
at it
think-
at the next
I
meeting.
think David's suggestion is to have NIHART calculate it from date of hire.
Right.
And
Oh,
then,
have him
and,
just do it from the data hire, I can
and
do it.
two, in the meantime,
Get the information.
get the information
All right, so I'm
regarding.
gonna put him back on
discrepancy.
as received and approved, and then we'll do whatever, okay,
Right.
got it.
We can table it if it doesn't jive, you know?
So do you guys all want this CBA plan and the data hire, every one of you, want me to send it to all of you?
You can do that on email?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do it via
Yeah,
email.
I'll email it to all of you, and then I'm gonna email NIHOT to calculate his pension from 1991, and then I'll just
Data
put it
hire.
back on the agenda.
Yeah, and also let us know too, where's data hire and the first date of
I
contribution.
am, yeah,
To us as well.
with
Okay.
the CBA and the plans.
Perfect.
Are we being charged for this?
Well, you have to be charged for it anyway, because he's gonna get
But don't they get
calculated.
don't they get one free every, once a year or whatever? Free calculations?
You get one calculation, but this is partly because we're just doing it.
Just trying to figure it out.
Yes.
So, this one we
You
have to
could get
pay.
charged again if we have to change anything, yes.
Okay, but if you get one free, we shouldn't be paying for this, we should be paying for the next one.
No, you don't get one free. The NIHOT's still going to charge you,
Really?
yes. What you mean by getting one free, the way the ordinance means, meaning like if I wanted mine just calculated just for the heck of it, and
Yeah.
I didn't retire, that's my free one, the
Okay.
employee free. The next
But
one
we-
you're supposed to.
But the board has to pay no matter what.
Yes.
And, okay. And who decides how much they charge us?
Whatever you guys signed with NIHOT.
When is their contract up?
Not soon enough.
Oh, well, that was funny, Jeff. That's the one we looked at that we couldn't find the date. Yes. We don't know.
I don't think that there is a date on that contract. I don't think that it's a set period of time.
Couldn't find one.
So it goes year by year?
Yeah.
A month to month.
How, until, I mean, there couldn't be a point in time when there was no one, so it would be until someone else. Right, right. And it's the same, I believe it's the same with Rockland, that it's until someone were to take over, because you wouldn't ever want to not have a bank. Right.
Okay.
Okay, so you're gonna table it and I'm gonna do that.
Well, there's actually nothing even
Well,
tabled
no,
because we don't
nothing's
have him
tabled.
on specifically,
Right.
so yeah.
That's right. Silly.
Okay, item P, June cash flow statement from Rockland Trust, which that I can go over.
Wait for this until I get on it.
Okay. So as of June 1st, the beginning value was $23,604,209.93. There were $2,008,102.16 in additions, which were a combination of $1,860,579.25 for town contributions, $147,237.98 of employee contributions, and $284.93 miscellaneous, which I believe was a lawsuit at the investment end, so they just sent us some money. The withdrawals totaled $794,449.01, and that was a combination of $752,544.22 of normal distributions, $30,661.34 of special distributions, and $11,243.45 of expenses. The plan themselves earned between dividends and interest $55,786.51. Rockland Trust fees for that month was $2,882.42. There was a change in market value of negative $149,340.74, leaving us an ending value of $24,721,426.43, which is a little over $1,100,000 higher than it was in the beginning of the month.
The month of the year.
The month.
That was this period.
Yeah, I'm looking at this period, yeah.
Are we gonna get this every month? Now?
Yes.
Is it possible to put this before we pay any bills, just to look at our finances first?
I can.
Sure.
I can
Does it matter to
rearrange.
anybody else? I just kinda,
Just catch me if I send the agenda out and forget, but I'll try to remember. So put Rockland before bills.
yeah,
Write
just
myself a note.
before we pay anything, I think we should know what we
Yeah.
got.
And is
Okay.
this something I can post on the town's website? I have.
Just,
to my
there was
little
just a
section.
couple questions I had, and I'll go over with you just to make sure.
Yeah, there were a few suggestions that, sorry.
There were a few suggestions that I had after reviewing last month's statement that, just simple redactions. The account number, it's on the bottom of every page, and just a few things like that. And whether or not what you want to post is the specific transactions, or if you just want to post, I think it's the first 4 pages or the summary of transactions, which is what Lou just read. The specific transactions discuss specific distributions. So that would be a question whether or not you want to redact some of that information as well. But it just depends on if you want just the summary to be posted or more.
Well, I'm interested in where the money's being invested in. And by the looks of it, I think we can do a little bit better. So, Rockland, they make the decisions where they're gonna invest the money, or we do?
No, that's
No,
Clearbrook.
That's Clearbrook.
Rockland is just the bank. They just hold the money and send it where
Okay.
Clearbrook tells
So
them.
Clearbrook is the one that made all these investments.
Correct.
Correct.
But Rockland gives us the quarterly, the monthly statements.
Because
Yes.
they hold all the money.
Okay, so now, how often is Clearbrook is gonna come in front of us and explain how they feel about the market, how they feel about making any change? Have they made any changes in the past year or the past month, or
They
whatever
just
the
did a
case
couple
may
months
be?
ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They
they
should
come
be
4
due,
times a
right?
year.
They come 4
I
times.
believe they're
I
looking
thought you were
for,
gonna talk.
yeah, I
So
believe
when
they're
is-
gonna try for August.
I have,
August? Okay.
I have the packet from the last time they came, I'll get it to you.
Okay, so,
They
but
usually
August will be the
quarter.
next time they come?
I believe, yeah, that's
I'm
what they're
gonna put a
shooting
question
for.
mark.
And
Yeah,
they come,
because,
and they come in front of us?
But they come
They
in
come
front
in
of the
front of
meeting,
us,
they have a
yes.
presentation, they give
You're looking
packets with
forward
all
to
of the
that.
information, yeah.
Great.
You should have, the board has I think it's called an IPS, correct
Yeah.
me, I might be wrong.
It's
Oh,
in-
okay, I'm
They
right?
all have it, and it's
Oh,
in
good,
here.
so you should have that.
Yeah, we have it.
And that, the board can make decisions as to the distributions in the IPS, because Clearbrook has to follow that generally. They have ranges, obviously, because you don't want to say, we want exactly
No.
1% here.
Right,
So it's a
exactly.
range. But if the board decides that they want ranges to be in different places, that's something that you can do to direct Clearbrook
Okay,
where you
great.
want stuff.
All right,
and did you get my email? Did I
yeah, yeah.
sent you that? Okay.
Thank you. Right, thank you, I appreciate it.
No problem, thank you.
Lou, the breakdown that you read at the bottom there in your notes, is that throughout the packet here?
Yes, so for
Save
instance,
the file.
if you stop like right, see the 2,000,008,
Yep. And then you
2,000,008, and then it scrolls on down.
Hi,
Hello.
Diane Kelsey. I like, Kristen, your idea of the problem with the account number on every page, especially if it's going to be posted to the town website. Maybe just the last 4 digits would be sufficient, and eliminate the rest. Because I think, in addition, I like the summary page where you could see how much did we start with, what are the fees. People, everyday people want to see that particular piece of information. The individual contributions and disbursements, I think, is a privacy issue, and I would recommend you not posting that on the town website, because I think you could run into some issues along that line.
I believe that retirement contributions are actually considered a public record, but when it's a decision as far as
Yes.
what's being posted.
Exactly.
The board is not required to put it, so I would agree that it might be better to just put the summary.
Right, because if someone truly is interested in what a particular retiree is interested, they
Right.
could
They
come
could
to a
find that
meeting, they
out.
could find that out.
Exactly.
They could put in a formal request to the pension committee. But to have it posted every month, number one, it's going to take up space.
Yes.
Number two, you don't want to you want to make it simple, let people see, here's what we started, did we make money this month? What are the fees? Are they in line? Does the fees make sense? But especially the account number, last four digits probably is sufficient. You don't want an issue along that line.
Agreed. I was also going to recommend redacting your home address.
Yeah.
Yes,
You know.
exactly. That also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. No, I appreciate the work that was put in to get this. And I think it just makes sense to see our month-to-month cash flows.
So we're just putting in the front page,
I think that's
To give
appropriate. Yeah.
the public,
Which page?
the front page,
Just basically the front.
the account summary section with the,
Just this
with,
one page.
right, with the
And then just
account number
remove
redacted.
that and remove Rockland's address?
No,
No,
Rockland
that's
was
okay.
gonna say,
Oh, so I don't have an address on this one page?
no, it's the page before, that was why I just wasn't sure how much you were gonna put in.
Nope, I will
But if
only
it's
be
just,
posting
yeah,
this
the one account summary section, if that's the page one, it's
Yeah.
just the account number and the bottom center that I would just
Yep, so
black through.
I'll just black it. I'll just black the whole thing.
I have one question.
So just this one page.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
okay.
I have one question. You mentioned that the fees was $2,882, and then you mentioned there was expenses of $11,243 something. What
Those were
expenses?
checks that we had paid, which I can divulge.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
It was like $226.
Yeah,
to
okay,
Allied
all right.
Boys.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Okay.
Thank you. I
I'll
appreciate
post
that.
this. I'm only gonna post this on that one town website. It's just the one that if you go to town departments, that's the only place I'm gonna put this, where I post one of the agendas back, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Only gonna post this one.
Under the pension part, right?
Under the pension part, under that department.
All right. Now,
This is probably something that should be on OpenGov.
Hold on a second.
I made them laugh.
What's the charge on the monthly fee?
The what?
They charged $2882.42 for this month.
Okay, now,
which-
this is paid before you got even voted on whether or not to pay a bill.
Right, their fees are set automatically.
Automatically.
Okay, so when the payment of bills here, that's not even clear, so people don't know that. That's the problem we have.
Yeah, it's it.
No, it's not,
Well,
because
it's
they're
not.
taking it.
Yeah, but on this.
Right, but then if then we'd have to be redacting a lot because where the bills are listed
No,
are.
the agenda, payment of bills. it should
Oh,
say
do you just
Rockland.
wanna see it for them to actually just acknowledge
So
it and
that way
approve
we
it?
know exactly what we paid Rockland in case we don't get that cash.
Yeah, that would be part of that page we were talking about to put on.
Right,
If
for people that don't have a computer.
Right, Sarge is just, I think, asking on section H of the agenda, payment of bills, just to include Rockland monthly fee. Correct, similar to
Which
Clearbrook.
I have Clearbrook's for next month, it just came in.
Right, just so that it's on the agenda. I assume that was, right, okay.
Sounds good.
And then just, all you need is this one page, it's right here, I understand it's under fees.
Yeah,
And then I could just put that every month. And this will actually be ahead of it, like David says. And then you could just put fees,
Rockland trust fees.
Rockland trust fees.
under payment of bills.
I don't, and I, you
Does
But
it need to
Clearbrook,
go there?
you could, you could, instead of putting payment of bills, if you wanted to have that just checks that need to be approved, you could just add a section, I or H or whatever, monthly expenses or something.
Right, could I just do it right before the
Admin expenses
bills?
right before it and put Rockland and
just-
Clearbrook?
and then on-
Because those are both
Okay.
direct debit. That way, it's not something you have to approve because they've already been paid, but just to have it out there as a
Monthly
recorded item.
expenses.
Right, monthly admin expenses, Rockland and Clearbrook, and then you've got them on
So
there
I'll
every
put that
month.
before with this, okay, monthly expenses.
All right, so I think we should have a motion to say we're gonna put this on the website, the summary page, plus the redaction. Need a motion to change.
I'm all stuck over
I
here.
make a motion to post page one from Rockland Trust, redacting the account number.
Second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, we're discussion, which we're gonna end up blowing through here. Redraft has already been discussed, income verification is discussed, open gov we discussed. Agreed upon procedures. That I put in here, I just thought there may have been a little confusion. Last month, we talked about possibly having an accountant do a set of agreed upon procedures to come in, look at the bills, this and that. With agreed upon procedures, an accountant was just gonna literally come in, say, all right, here's a bill, was it approved, and that's it. They're not gonna be saying, oh, is this high, is this low? They're just gonna try to verify that this bill was approved by the board. So my question is, do you want us to spend $25,000 or $50,000 for that service? Because they're not gonna come in and say, oh, this bill's too high, or they're just literally gonna say, this bill matches, it was approved. It's not their job to determine price. So I just want boards, I mean, a public's opinion of spending money on that kind of service.
So it's just gonna basically verify that what's been paid
Was authorized to
was
be paid.
authorized to be paid. How far back?
Whatever we wanted to give them as a job.
Do you have any idea what that would cost for like?
That costs us how much?
I'm just throwing that number
Yeah,
out,
right.
but I'm thinking realistically, I mean, these guys are gonna be billed at least $300 an hour.
Well, if we've been paying our bills regularly, and we know it, and it's been recorded, okay, we have the agenda, it's been paid, we know it's been paid, so why do we need someone to come in here and tell us that we paid it?
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point I'm getting. I don't really feel we do. I mean, it was brought up last month, and I just sat back and thought about it, saying, wait a minute, agreed upon procedure. They're not telling us that, oh, you guys spent $10,000, you really only should have spent $5,000. Their job will strictly be to match up the bills with the approvals, just to make sure no one's running amok with the checkbook and paying bills that shouldn't be. So if you want to look at that aspect, it can be looked at, but they're not going to be able to do
They're not
anything
gonna
else.
save us a penny then. I mean, they're not looking to see if we pay more than what we should have.
You're gonna have an audit, right? That's the same thing.
There'll be, well, that was the question, are we going to have the audit? And they were saying if we didn't have the audit, they were considering the agreed upon procedures.
Required by law.
No, not for the pension. We've never had an audit.
Well, the pension has been part of the town audit, the fund. It hasn't been a separate pension audit, and I don't know what happened with the RFP, if that went out for the pension board separately.
I think it went up, but I haven't heard anything.
Okay, so that might be what you were thinking of, was the audit,
Last month, there was discussion on
right?
paying somebody, or piggyback with the town, I forget what it was.
Yes, that would have been
Right.
for the audit.
So if there's an audit, I think an audit should catch.
Something like that.
Theoretically, yes, it should.
$100 to so-and-so for this service, it should match up.
I agree with you, but the piggyback thing was, the way it's always been done in the past is, we're like a subset of the town, so they just do a certain amount of work. The question is, did we as a pension board want our entire separate audit, which would involve a hell of a lot more work that they'd be doing, because they have to rely on the numbers more now. And that's what John was trying to determine, if we wanted to have our own.
Well, what would be the scope of your audit? That's what you have to decide as a board. What are you looking to audit? Are you looking to audit all your finances for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years?
Right, well, the audit would be, I would believe, just would be the previous year. An audit is typically for 1 year. Agreed upon procedures would then step it out if you wanted to do further years.
So, but correct me if I'm wrong, if the town does that now, and they want to piece it off to you people to do your own, aren't you getting the same information free from the town that you don't have to pay for, instead of doing your own, which are only going back a year? Anyways, it doesn't seem beneficial to.
I think what John was saying was what they're doing with the board, with the pension fund as part of the town audit, is to a much, much smaller extent than what it would be if it were a entire pension audit. I think, and I'm not 100%, but I think from what John was saying was that the only thing that they were including within the town audit was just the fund, just looking at the fund numbers, but not actually like a full-on audit of everything pension. That was what they were trying to do the RFP on because they were looking at next year for the town, and do they want to continue with the way that they were going, or does the pension want a more intense audit, I guess is the best way to say it. Because of the new regulations and things, there was a question on a lot of, I guess, pension boards might be going toward their own audit. I think that was what John was saying, but honestly,
Right, but I don't think it's happened yet, but that's.
And that's a
Correct.
question that I have. As far as I know, our town charter the council and the finance director are the only people that can pay bills. And you can say you're an autonomous body. There's no such thing. You said yourself, you're only here to recommend to the council. So technically, you guys shouldn't even be paying bills.
How can that be?
Oh, I sat on the council for 10 years.
But,
We
okay.
paid all the bills.
Up until when did we?
You
when did it-
send, you take the bill,
Yeah.
you send it to the finance director.
So when did the pension board start paying the bills?
I have no idea.
Well, you come to every meeting, don't you?
No. Only when you start, take my pension away, I start.
I'm not trying to take anything away. I'm just
That's when
trying
I
to save
started
money.
to come. Send me a notice telling me to take my pension away.
Well, I'm not gonna take it away.
Well, that's what basically happened.
Well, I don't
I'm
know.
just,
I'm new to the con. to the
I'm
thing.
just, that's how it, unless they change the charter.
Yeah, I mean,
I was in there in 90, and like Gene said, I used to get a bill, I was a chairman. I'd send it, I'd tell my secretary, who was a member of the pension board, I'd say, okay, send that to the town finance director. Let them pay it. And that's what she did. Everything went through finance.
Okay, so if the finance director is gonna pay the bill, where's the money coming from?
still gonna come out of
Still gonna come out of the pension fund.
it. Yeah, well, we know that's not gonna happen.
That ain't gonna happen, right?
Well, that's it, and that's the problem you have. You've had such a long period of going from where the town used to pay all the bills, we'd send it, come out of the finance, where they adopted this new thing where the administrative costs come out of the pension fund. And
Which,
you pay the bill now.
which it should.
But I still think it should go through finance, even though you're paying the money out of the pension, I think John Chimino should be integrally part of your situation, because he has the full scope of the town finances, and you have to determine where that money goes. I mean, you approve bills, and
Right.
where do they go?
Rockland.
You go to
I
Rockland.
think it's a Rockland and Rock.
So John in finance doesn't know until after Rockland pays it, that?
Yeah, this is our bills tonight. If everything gets approved, Lou sends it, it just goes off to Rockland.
So when does John find out about those bills?
John finds
That's
out
what
from
they
the,
pay.
I would guess, the Rockland.
From Rockland statement, yeah, I don't
Statement.
think, otherwise he's, I don't know how, if he's in the loop any other way.
He has access to that.
I know, yeah, he has
Yeah,
access.
I would think he gets it from the
So who
Rockland statement.
reconciles the Rockland account every month?
The Rockland account is not reconciled.
No, it's employee contributions, it's ARC, it's a mixture of everything.
So, no, so to Kevin's point, bills are being sent to Rockland, John's not involved potentially in writing the check, so to speak, you
Right.
know.
He's not writing the check,
You
correct?
know, exactly. He goes to Rockland, he finds out maybe later, okay, and then how to, like, just seems like that could be open for some hanky-panky.
I think you would
I don't mean to
I
blame
know
anyone,
these
but what I'm
orders are
saying
auditors.
is that
What-
nobody's looking at that on a regular basis. We started off with 23 million, okay, we went to 24 million,
You would
you know,
think
and all of
finance
that.
director is.
How many bills did we pay, you know, X, Y, Z?
Well, is it in
Who's
here?
looking
That's
at
in
that?
here.
We have
No
it.
one?
Well, we are, now. I am now. Prior to that,
There is a way you could actually do it through the finance system, and after the meeting, probably, like, we, you know, do our regular POs
Be
and
almost
have an
like
account
the
just
department
set
head.
up and have it drawn
This is
off,
the
you know what I
pension
mean?
It's no different than a fire chief buying a fire truck saying, I approve this, and Chimino pays $200,000. Now, you're just a department head, quote, pension board, saying, we've approved these bills, pay 'em. And then it's, now you're talking open government, now you've got a single audit. Incorporated and everything,
Well-
it just comes out of both the pension fund, right?
right.
Well, we have it right here. And it says right here, transaction distributions. On 6/14/2016, a cash disbursement of $1,475 was paid to Howard Nyart Company. So now you know where that 1,400 went.
But he's just saying, no one's
Gene
looking
is
at
saying,
it.
And
Well-
the
John
general
should be.
charter,
Right.
that governs the town.
So if you're mentioned in the home rule charter, and I don't know if any of you have read it, if your scope is very narrow of your authority, and you took it upon yourself some years ago, I'm not saying this board, years ago, to alter that home rule charter, expanding your scope, which was not defined in the home rule charter, that's a problem.
Well, again, why is it,
Correct?
But again, why is it-
If your scope is very narrow in the home rule charter,
But
as
again-
to what you're
Yes.
capable of doing,
Yeah.
what your authority is, and somebody gave this board somewhere down the road the authority to expand that charter in,
Could do it through
in their wisdom, not this board, a
We
board
could just put in.
expanded that, I think you would want to look at that and get an opinion from maybe the town's attorney saying, the home rule charter gives the pension board this authority. Maybe they shouldn't be paying the bills, maybe they should be going through the finance, because
Okay.
our authority limits what we can do. Just because you've been doing it for 15 or 20 years doesn't make it so.
okay, so my question is this here. Why is it all of a sudden, everything's being brought up now? Why wasn't it brought up before?
Oh, it's been brought up many times. Oh, don't get me started with that.
Well,
You want to go through 10 years of tapes? I'll give you 10 years of
well, I would love to hear those tapes.
No, I don't think you will.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. If I recall, last meeting, John was here, one of the reasons he was here was to discuss us giving them, asking the town council if they want to start accepting responsibilities for doing things like that. And then one of the questions from the public addressed, which he wasn't answered, is, well, what's the fee gonna be? Because you know they're gonna charge the pension board. They're not gonna do it for free. So we definitely can send a letter to the town council, opening up negotiations, so to speak, of what it's gonna cost and what services they provide. I mean, I have no problem giving it over to them. It's less work on this end.
Yeah.
But you still would have to vote on it.
It is their pension, regulations.
Right.
You can't approve anything they do.
Like Krista said, she's got to send the redraft of the pension plan to the town council. You can approve it. You can say, Krista, you did a fantastic job. Hey, we love it. You know, we're going to sign it. You don't have the authority to do that. It's got to go to the governing body, to the
Right.
town of West Warwick. So if the home rule charter, and getting back to that, limits your power, then you have to go to the town and say, okay, we've been doing this for so many years. Do we have the authority under the home rule charter? Somebody's got to look into that.
We will.
Okay, well, all right, well, then let's just, that's gonna be more legal fees.
Yeah, but that's the town's responsibility because it's their charter, not the pension board. You're
Well,
just
yeah, I know,
asking-
but that's gonna be another argument.
You're asking an opinion from the town solicitor saying, what is
Do we have
our
the authority
scope
to- Yeah, do we have the
of authority
authority?
under this pension?
And if they say, yes, you do have the authority, you can recommend that they
Right,
make
so
an
then you can get a
ordinance
letter
or-
from the town solicitor
charter.
saying, yeah,
Yeah.
you've got the authority to do this, and that.
So let's go for it.
I would think it would
Okay.
protect all of
It would
us as
protect you.
well.
Yeah.
I think it would be a good idea just going forward, and as you said, we just want to go forward in it, that we understand there were issues that maybe weren't right, or people were not aware, but at least protect yourself going forward.
You were saying,
Okay.
where have you been? I've been here for many years, talking about this, and nobody will listen.
It's the first time I've heard that we have no authority to approve bills and levies. That's new. And
You have to approve them.
You do.
to pay the bills
saying to
from the
pay 'em.
charter, I didn't know
There is,
that.
the plan does give the board the authority to administer the plan. That's it, that is, you have that authority. And I know I keep talking about this redraft, it's like a broken record, but there are provisions in the redraft that are more specific regarding town's involvement perhaps, and that's something that the board can discuss once you take a look, and how you want to suggest to the town council how the redraft discusses, certain admin things. So that is another venue that you would have.
All right, so it's a very complicated issue.
So should we draft a letter to the town council asking their,
My suggestion at this point would be to take a look at the redraft, and the provisions that are in there as far as the admin of the plan, and see if that's something that this board would be confident recommending to the town council, or if there would be different information you would want to put into that, because that is your recommendation to the town council of how you want the plan to read, to direct the board to do what they need to do. Does that make sense?
I have one other question. You're doing this redraft. Before it's signed by the town council, I know it's gonna go to them. Are you willing to give it to the unions?
Oh, yeah, it's going,
Bargaining
it's going
agreement
to
and
you
the
guys,
retiree
or
group,
retirees.
and say, hey, look through this, you see any problems with it?
Yep.
Does it coincide with the CBAs?
I'm expecting that we're going to have that discussion, Kevin. Yes. I shouldn't answer for the board, sorry.
I
No,
can tell
yeah.
you I won't approve it without it
Yeah.
being vetted through all those processes first, because it's just gonna avoid a whole lot of headaches. If we just go ahead and approve it and send it to the town without even you looking at it, you might see something that we never saw. And then now 6 months later, we're dealing with all these issues.
Exactly, and you're
It only
back
makes sense
drafting
to-
it again, because saying, hey, we didn't get a chance to see it, we have it now, it's been signed by the town council, and we see a potential problem, so let's get the potential problems out of the way before.
Right.
As soon as it's ready.
The photocopy machine upstairs, once a month.
It's ugly,
Is
but
it
it's here.
100%? Is it done? No.
Okay, so what do we do?
I can do
Like-
that with papers too.
I used to be like,
It's the
look at my
redraft.
pretty papers, but it's very close.
We,
All right.
All right, so
So
nothing on
what,
that.
what's the outcome here?
all right, so we're gonna wait before we do anything specific to asking the town solicitor to just do that first.
That would be my recommendation, that
Or
it
do
be
that
part
in
of that.
combination with.
Right.
Okay. All right, so we'll be addressed, it's just gonna get addressed when we submit the redraft. Item 5, budget. That's on me. I've asked for legal. Legal can't really give me an answer. I'm now asking, actually, the CPAs for the town who did the last audit. I'm not sure if we're allowed to have a budget. If we're allowed to have a budget, we're gonna vote and do a budget. I'm just trying to find out if we're allowed to have a budget. Legal doesn't know yet, so I have to ask CPAs, and that's not my expertise doing municipalities. I have no idea. So that I'm still looking into. Item 6, administration software relating to the previous RFP. Again, we've never reviewed any of those softwares.
I did have a chance to look at it. When you gave me the copies, I think they're
Okay,
outrageously expensive. Each one of them is way more than I ever could have imagined. I don't know how you feel, if it's gonna save money in the long run, I don't think so. But I have got myself up to speed on those RFPs, and I'm not gonna vote to move forward on either of them.
all right, then I'm actually in agreement with you, so I think can we put that as an action item for next month to say we're ignoring the RFP, or can't, however we have to word it. Item 7, I guess we just have to discuss this, opinion from.
Well, I wanted them to know that you
Oh,
guys did
okay.
it.
Opinion,
You did it.
Form 2016-2 was denied due to Quadro was not for board to review per the plan documents and board regulations, so we did nothing with that particular opinion. And is there any other comments from the public before we do executive session?
No, we got it all out. Nothing goes, got that.
Okay, I guess we're going to go into executive session.
Have a good night.
Someone is going to mention, thank you guys very much for all your input.
I'd like to make a motion that in accordance with Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-4 and 42-46.5, Section A, 2, the pension board will convene into executive session to discuss personal issues and litigation.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, for executive session.
Okay, wait a minute, I gotta stop this tape.
Lights off.
What am I doing? Oh,
Yep.
make a motion to close executive session and seal the minutes.
Second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We have to reconvene in open session or no?
We close executive session, sure, you can.
Make a motion to reconvene into open session.
A second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made in second, all in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned, good night.